The narrative begins with a depiction of the legendary world tree, the focal point of all life. The peaceful sky transitions to describe the diverse races inhabiting this mystical world. A sprawling aerial view showcases the massive Yugno continent surrounded by vast oceans. The narrator introduces the perpetual conflict between humanity at the center and the Western demon army. Despite human efforts, the unyielding demons force mankind into a brutal and desperate struggle. Human defenders attempt to turn the tide, ordering their artillery to open fire on the invaders. A massive demon takes a direct, explosive hit to the face mid-rampage. Silence falls as a precise arrow pierces the demon's eye, neutralizing the threat instantly. A blonde elf archer and her companion casually arrive, expressing amusement at how well the humans held out. The shocked guard asks who they are while his relieved comrades celebrate their sudden rescue. A quiet, hooded figure standing alongside them observes the castle surroundings in deep silence. Standing on the parapet, the hooded spellcaster opens a glowing ornate grimoire over the battlefield. Divine magical circles inscribed within the pages begin to glow with intense resonant energy. The spellcaster channels mana, summoning a massive magical crest that sends scaling demons falling. The grimoire channels opposing elemental forces, surging with crackling purple and gold lightning. Intense, swirling currents of purple and golden magic spiral together toward the night sky. With short white hair and glowing eyes, the young youth charges a devastating spell. A brilliant pillar of light shoots into the heavens, blasting the remaining demons away from the walls. A colossal magic circle manifests in the dark sky, striking terror into a surviving demon below. The Grimoire Master initiates the final stage of his high-tier lightning spell, Rind Karanos. He coldly declares the battle over as countless bolts of violet lightning rain down. Shielded from the storm, his companions watch the overwhelming display of magical power in complete awe. The young wizard snaps a spellbook shut and prepares to depart the ruined battlements. The warriors and guards stand completely dumbfounded by how effortlessly the spellcaster wiped out the enemy. The castle outskirts lie silent, littered with the defeated remains of the demon vanguard. The three allies gather quietly on the fortress wall as dawn begins to break. The young spellcaster turns his attention back to the startled castle guard. Seeing his distinct silver hair, the guard suddenly recognizes the youth's legendary magical signature. The mysterious youth is revealed to be the legendary White Wolf Grimoire Master. A soldier on the castle wall pulls her up and shouts to get their attention. Reinforcements arrive from below, calling up to check on the welfare of the defenders. Seeing the support troops arrive, the companions agree to leave the remaining cleanup to them. The silver-haired magic user presents a special traveling pass to the startled guard. He calmly asks the guard for permission to pass through the fortress gates. The guard inspects the pass while the Grimoire Master states their next destination. A faint purple spark crackles in the evening sky as they prepare to move. The spark explodes into a beautiful pink firework, signaling the start of their journey. The dark-haired warrior watches silently as the Grimoire Master walks toward the horizon. Lying relaxed, the blonde elf doubts if they will ever find the legendary magic stone. The companion bluntly tells her she can go back, affirming his loyalty to Ellen. He declares his absolute resolve to follow their leader, much to the elf's playful annoyance. The warrior walks off, leaving the noisy elf shouting complaints about his overly serious attitude. Ellen watches with amusement as the elf runs to catch up, demanding not to be left behind. The energetic elf catches up and teases her companion, who gruffly tells her to back off. A warm, knowing smile graces Alan's face as he happily watches his companions bicker. The warrior, Laz, playfully squishes the face of the talkative elf, E, to quiet her. Alan turns back to his companions with a smile, calling for them to set off. E and Laz smile warmly, united in their search for the origin of the world's power. Together, the three allies step through the fortress gates toward the legendary Primal Magic Stone. The grand quest begins, searching for the rare, ancient jewels that contain the lost arts of old. A radiant, beautifully adorned jewel glowing with intense celestial light is introduced as a legendary magic stone. The narrative shifts to a luxurious ballroom where wealthy nobles gather in opulence and power. Deep beneath the surface, enslaved laborers are forced to endlessly polish raw, unrefined magical ores. A sudden loud ringing chiming from the grandfather clock signals the end of their brutal shift. Finding relief as his shift ends, the black-haired boy inspects a small stone, but his quiet moment is broken when the angry overseer grabs another worker, viciously reprimanding him for lazy and inadequate polishing. The overseer throws down poorly polished stones, demanding to know if such lazy work is worth any payment. He calls everyone useless before holding up a perfectly clean purple gem, declaring that this is the level of perfection they must achieve. Mid-lecture, the overseer gasps in utter shock as a small hand suddenly reaches out and snatches the glowing purple gem right from his grasp. Holding the stone up to inspect it closely, the black-haired boy flatly rejects the overseer's standard of perfection. A sharp, sudden strike sounds as the boy is violently kicked to the stone floor. The secondary overseer looms over the fallen boy, recognizing him with deep annoyance. Spitting a stream of blood onto the floor, the battered boy glares up while the overseer growls that the boy's defiant eyes make him incredibly angry. Standing over the kneeling slave, the overseer mockingly asks if he thinks he is special just because of his raw stone polishing skills. A brutal, crushing blow lands with a heavy crash as the overseer mercilessly kicks the helpless boy across the floor. Declaring that the brat needs to be taught a lesson, the overseer suggests that if the boy loves polishing so much, he should take on everyone else's workload, grabbing his hair to force him to look up. Defying his captors, the boy suddenly lunges forward and delivers a stunning direct punch right to the overseer's jaw. A heavy blow strikes back as the boy is knocked to the ground while the overseer insults his intelligence and orders the rest of the slaves to get to bed. Before the overseer can walk away, the boy's scarred hand grips his shoulder as he quietly counts the 3 hits he just took. Turning in confusion, the overseer is met by the boy's glowing, manic gaze as he begs for 3 more strikes, reasoning that each hit he receives should earn him the right to polish another stone. Screaming in disgust, the overseer violently slashes at the boy to get him away. Lying battered on the floor, the boy continues to beg them to strike him, leaving the 2 overseers visibly shaken and disturbed by his bizarre request. Reaching out desperately, the bruised boy begs for more violence, prompting the secondary overseer to ask if he has completely lost his mind. Panicking, the overseers back away and warn the creepy kid to stay away from them, while a white-haired elderly slave silently watches the bizarre encounter from the shadows. Dragging his heavily shackled feet, the young slave slowly retreats back to his dark, lonely cell. Resting against the cold stone wall, he watches the morning sunlight filter through the prison bars. As dawn breaks, the boy sighs to himself about getting far too carried away, his mind instantly drifting back to a beautiful glowing red magic stone. A gentle smile warms his bruised face as he remembers the brilliant yellow and blue stones. He fondly recalls holding a rare, pale blue gem that felt uniquely dense with mystical energy. The glowing azure gem sparkled with unmatched brilliance, leaving a lasting impression of pure beauty. He silently dreams of discovering and polishing every kind of magical stone in existence, wishing he was allowed to do nothing else. His peaceful reverie is shattered when the overseer barks at him through the bars, demanding that he get up for work immediately. Looking up, the boy sees a weathered hand offered to him as a kind voice asks if he is able to stand. The compassionate, white-bearded elderly slave stands before him, offering support with a warm, caring gaze. After the boy weakly confirms he is all right, the nearby slaves whisper in confusion about his strange behavior. As they climb the stairs to work, the boy reflects on how lonely and isolated his existence has been. For the very first time since his imprisonment, someone has finally reached out to him. The overseer aggressively slams the slave's head toward the table, barking orders to ensure today's polishing is done perfectly. Glaring menacingly at the black-haired boy, the overseer warns him that any laziness or sleeping will result in another brutal beating. Ignoring the threats, the boy maintains a calm, serene expression as he focuses on his work. He is captivated by a mysterious new stone swirling with a rich blend of purple and deep crimson. Holding his polishing tool, a genuine smile returns as he eagerly anticipates the gem's hidden beauty. Working alongside him, the elderly slave curiously asks why the boy deliberately provoked the overseer yesterday. The boy tries to deflect by focusing on his task, but the persistent old man coaxes him to explain his reckless thoughts from the previous day. Looking away, the boy simply explains that his actions had no deeper meaning beyond a pure, obsessive desire to polish more magical stones. Holding up a dark, shimmering stone, the old man quietly reflects on his past in the slums where such gorgeous objects never existed. The heavy, rusting iron collar around his neck serves as a grim reminder of their shared captivity. The brutal reality of their slave labor remains a relentless, torturous nightmare day in and day out. Despite the torment, the boy finds a strange solace in being allowed to touch these magical jewels. Looking at the boy with profound disbelief, the old man asks if he truly endured a bloody beating and sleeplessness just for the sake of polishing stones. Annoyed by the interrogation, the boy bluntly tells the old man to mind his own business and stop pestering him. He reaffirms his simple, pure fascination with the beautiful, radiant gems as he continues his work. Amused by the boy's singular passion, the old man looks down at his own dark pebble, quietly chuckling at the idea of calling such stones beautiful. Staring closely at a magical stone, the black-haired boy marvels at how their inner patterns shine brighter with every polish. The white-haired elderly slave is startled as the boy explains how watching the energy inside the stones brings him peace. The elderly slave is shocked that the boy can see the internal patterns, prompting the boy to ask why he finds it so surprising. Stroking his beard thoughtfully, the elderly slave quietly processes the boy's incredible and rare sight. Looking closely at the boy, the old man wonders if he has finally found someone truly exceptional. A warm, knowing smile graces the elder's weathered face as he gazes at his young companion. The elderly slave explains that the swirling patterns the boy sees are actually ancient magic. The elder explains that the stones they laboriously polish every single day are far from ordinary rocks. He further explains how magic stones contain immense power that can be unleashed when paired with a spellbook, though their current batch consists of low-quality ores. Intrigued by the explanation, the young slave wonders if there are beautiful magic stones scattered throughout the rest of the world. The elder confirms that countless magnificent magic stones exist beyond their dismal prison walls. The boy eagerly begs the elderly slave to tell him more and explain where he must go to find him. The old man gently tells the boy that his search must begin by first finding a way to escape their captivity. Suddenly, a sharp slash of wind tears through the quiet workshop, shattering their peaceful conversation. With a sudden crash, the elderly slave is ruthlessly kicked to the stone floor as the boy watches in absolute horror. The pink-haired aristocrat Malik looms over them, mockingly questioning who gave the slaves permission to speak of the outside world. He stands tall and imposing, holding an ornate blue grimoire adorned with intricate gold patterns. The legendary book shimmers with a brilliant celestial light, radiating an overwhelming aura of pure magical power. Stunned by the sudden intrusion, the young slave stares in disbelief at the powerful noble. Surrounded by his guards, the haughty noble demands to know where they think they could possibly escape to. Despite the danger, the boy glares back with a silent, defiant intensity. Malik mockingly notes Klaus's lingering defiance, while Klaus looks up in bitter recognition of his old acquaintance. His voice trembling with anger, the elderly slave berates Malik for having the audacity to show his face. When the boy asks if they know each other, Klaus reveals that Malik abandoned the true path of magic. Klaus bitterly calls Malik a traitor, which the aristocrat dismisses with a mockingly hurt expression. Malik casually reminisces about their 3 decades spent together as classmates, ignoring the elder's hatred. Klaus tightly clenches his fist in silent rage as the nobleman continues his mocking banter. Malik recalls how he used to depend entirely on Klaus during their younger years as scholars of magic. Coldly sneering, Malik calls Klaus a hypocrite for how far he has fallen. He mockingly points out that Klaus ended up enslaved because he foolishly let enemies take his grandson hostage. Malik reminds everyone of Klaus's legendary past when he was revered as the unparalleled miracle conductor. Defiant despite his shackles, Klaus demands that Malik keep his filthy hands off his sacred grimoire. Malik scoffs at his claim, admitting he stole the book and jewel hoping to obtain immense power, but repeatedly failed. Frustrated by his inability to unlock the grimoire's true ancient magic, Malik declares the artifact to be utterly useless garbage. With a dismissive gesture, the noble carelessly throws the legendary book and precious magical stones onto the dirty floor. The young slave gasps in confusion as the discarded magical items clatter right before him. As he stares at the glowing grimoire and gems, a sudden, powerful resonance begins to roar deep within his chest. In a spiritual vision, the young slave feels a profound connection as if the discarded items are calling out to his soul. Realizing true strength does not rely on stolen tools, the boy speaks up, catching Malik's attention. Narrowing his eyes, the annoyed noble demands that the insolent brat speak his mind immediately. Ignoring the boy, Malik demands that Klaus reveal how he can perceive the hidden power of the stones. Seizing a desperate moment, the elderly slave suddenly lunges forward to tackle the dark-haired guard. With a brutal thud, the guard swiftly overpowers the weak elder, knocking him back to the ground. Pinned down, Klaus weakly sneers that even if he explained the secret, Malik would never understand. Klaus insults Malik, stating that his eyes are far too clouded by greed to ever perceive the magic. As the angry guard begins to choke Klaus, Malik coldly orders him to stop the assault. Suddenly, the black-haired boy is engulfed in a magnificent torrent of blazing golden flames. Malik breaks into a cold sweat as he senses the colossal magical pressure radiating from the child. Looking on in utter disbelief, the noble gasps as a lowly slave awakens as a legendary Grimoire Master. Terrified of the boy's massive power, Malik frantically screams at his guard to bring out their ultimate weapon. Knowing he must act immediately, Malik prepares to secure the grimoire before it can be returned. Malik focuses entirely on preventing the ancient book from falling back into Klaus's hands. Infuriated, the nobleman hurls a bitter insult at the young slave as water magic surges. A torrent of swirling water spheres surrounds the noble, ready to crush the defenseless boy. Malik unleashes his powerful spell, summoning a raging flood of water directly at his target. Golden flames rise in a protective ring around the boy as he braces for impact. The elemental forces clash violently, leaving Malik utterly shocked by the unexpected defense. Realizing he can control the blazing fire around him, the boy prepares to fight back. Malik reels in disbelief that a newly awakened child can already manipulate magic so effortlessly. Klaus watches in awe, recognizing the boy's legendary eyes that can perceive ancient runes. Klaus marvels at the child's innate, extraordinary affinity for the ancient magical arts. Though Klaus recognizes the boy's once-in-a-lifetime talent, he fears his lack of experience. As Malik continues his relentless assault, the pinned elder desperately screams out a warning. The black-haired boy focuses on a single goal, delivering the sacred book back to Klaus. Clutching the grimoire tightly, the brave boy sprints through the blazing heat toward his companion. Malik furiously vows to stop him, summoning a massive wall of water to block his path. With a desperate leap, the boy hurls the grimoire through the colliding elements toward Klaus. The ancient book spins through the air, carried by the momentum of his frantic throw. Spiritual energy surges from the artifact, echoing the awakening of its true master. Reaching out, Klaus successfully catches the glowing grimoire and the precious magic stones. A powerful wave of water blasts the boy backward as he calls out to the elder. A brilliant explosion of white magical light engulfs the room, momentarily blinding everyone. Cast aside by the sheer force of the explosion, the boy spins through the air. The boy crashes heavily onto the cold stone floor, struggling to recover his breath. Dazed on the ground, the boy glares up, his mind fixed on their cruel oppressor. Now wielding his restored magic, Klaus declares that the nobleman's tyranny ends right here. The sweat drips down Malik's face as he suddenly realizes the true danger standing before him. Mocking the elder's confidence, Malik questions his chances of victory as his guards drag in more prisoners. Malik reveals several heavily bruised children, prompting Klaus to demand what sick scheme he is planning. The boy notices bizarre dark growths on the children's shoulders, wondering if they are magic stones. Malik explains that he artificially created these dark stones specifically to counter and defeat Klaus. The nobleman described the agonizing growths as a special, twisted kind of magic jewel. A horrifying gasp echoes as Malik mercilessly tears the stone straight out of a child's chest. The lifeless body of the young victim collapses to the floor, discarded like trash. A heavy thud sounds as the boy and Klaus watch the horrific scene unfold in absolute silence. Trembling with rage, Klaus accuses the noble of stooping to the unforgivable crime of human experimentation. The young slave struggles to comprehend the sheer, sickening evil of human experimentation. Malik coldly justifies his actions, claiming he only sought power and dismissed the children's lives as worthless. Deep, fiery rage burns in the boy's purple eyes as he listens to the noble's cruelty. Malik steps on the dead child's head, declaring that serving his research should have been an honor. Overwhelmed by absolute disgust and fury, Klaus bellows Malik's name as his magical aura flares. The booming surge, a terrifying dark crimson magical aura, violently erupts from the elder. The overwhelming pressure shakes the stone walls, forcing guards and slaves alike to cower in fear. Watching the jaw-dropping display of power, the boy marvels at the true strength of a Grimoire master. Klaus groans under the immense strain, pushing his aging body to its absolute limits for this final strike. Sweat pours down the elder's face as he desperately struggles to maintain control over the volatile magic. Malik breaks into an ecstatic grin, claiming he has long dreamed of this fateful confrontation. Malik vows to crush Klaus and turn both him and the boy into test subjects for his twisted experiments. Horrified by the nobleman's cruel threats, the boy realizes the terrifying scale of the danger. Amidst the raging flames, a glint of brilliant light catches the boy's eye on the floor. The black-haired boy clutches the glowing pink magic stone, desperately trying to trigger his latent power as Klaus urges him to recall his magic. The black-haired boy concentrates deeply, visualizing the glowing patterns drifting inside the magical gem. He clenches his hands around the stone, resolutely vowing to escape his captivity and avoid a life of human experimentation. Determined, the black-haired boy stills his resolve to break free. A brilliant burst of red flame ignites from his hands, signaling his impending escape to the world outside. With his purple eyes glowing fiercely, the boy unleashes a massive, swirling purple aura, shocking the treacherous noble Malik. Klaus watches in disbelief as the boy channels an incredibly dense and chaotic magical vortex. Malik is visibly shaken as the defiant boy promises to burn down this entire prison and destroy him. The black-haired boy prepares to unleash a devastating flame attack to reduce everything to ashes. Malik watches in absolute horror, realizing the slave is casting ancient magic without using a grimoire. Malik stands stunned as the boy prepares to incinerate him. Unleashing his full power, the black-haired boy commands his crimson flames to consume everything in their path. Title screen transitions as Malik begins to question the true nature of the boy's terrifying power. Klaus watches in shock, realizing the boy is forcefully driving the magic stone into a berserk state. Malik is left utterly speechless as his own magical artifacts begin to react violently. Malik prepares to unleash a counterattack, refusing to be defeated by a slave. Unleashing a massive wave of dark water magic, Malik tries to crush his opponent. The boy's fiery shield collides violently with Malik's water spell, throwing the noble into a panic. Desperate, Malik frantically orders his guards to charge forward and stop the boy. The black-haired boy remains completely calm, staring down his opponents with his glowing purple eyes. Seeing the guards advance, the boy recognizes the tactical danger of being surrounded. The boy realizes he must move quickly to secure the safety of the other huddled slaves. A guard charges directly at the boy as flames continue to dance around them. The boy yells a warning to Klaus, pointing out the guards advancing from behind him. A violent collision of fire and water magic creates a massive swirling explosion of steam and smoke. The guards scream in agony as the boy's intense flames easily overpower and burn them. Malik clicks his tongue in deep frustration as his guards are effortlessly defeated. Embers swirl around the boy's feet as he prepares to move forward. Malik gasps in sheer terror as the boy steps out of the smoke completely unharmed. Klaus quickly moves to help the captive children, urging them to run while they have the chance. The captive children flee to safety through the burning flames as Klaus stands guard. The black-haired boy launches a powerful fire attack directly toward Malik. Malik sweats in panic as he quickly conjures a dark magical barrier to protect himself. The boy effortlessly slices through Malik's magic with a swift swing of his arm. With a determined glare, the black-haired boy channels another surge of flame magic. A glowing magical circle manifests as the boy prepares to shatter the noble's defenses. A sudden shattering effect erupts, breaking Malik's concentration and exposing him to the attack. Malik is violently blasted backward by the explosive force of the boy's fire magic. Kneeling on the ground, Malik despairs as his plans crumble before his eyes. Consumed by rage, Malik raises his hand to cast a final desperate attack to kill the boy. The black-haired boy stands resolute, completely engulfed in a swirling aura of dark purple flames. A massive dark magical sphere encapsulates the boy, absorbing Malik's desperate spell. Malik watches in absolute dread as his protective barrier begins to crack under the pressure. The boy summons shadowy magic to grab Malik by the throat, coldly telling him to stay out of his way. Malik screams as he is engulfed in flames, while the boy walks past him. Klaus marvels at the boy's incredible feat, while the boy asks him to make the noble pay. Klaus sighs deeply as he reflects on Malik's crimes and prepares to take action. Klaus places a green gem onto his grimoire, agreeing to make the traitor face justice. Klaus unleashes his magic to lift and bind Malik, intending to drag him to the surface. The boy firmly clenches his fist around the glowing magic stone, ready to face the world outside. Standing wearily in his heavy metal collar, the black-haired boy catches his breath after the battle. Klaus gently holds the boy's arm and advises him to stay close. Klaus firmly announces their departure, and the tired black-haired boy readily agrees. Escaping the burning prison, they ascend the stone steps toward the brilliant white exit. Shielding his face from the intense glare, the boy gazes at the beautiful sunlit sky. Stepping outside, the black-haired boy stands in utter disbelief of his hard-won freedom. Overjoyed, the black-haired boy leaps with excitement, celebrating his successful escape from captivity. The boy asks Klaus about magic stones before guards spot him and sound the alarm. Armed guards charge forward, loudly accusing the black-haired boy of burning down Malik's estate. The scene abruptly transitions to a grand, solemn courtroom packed with spectators. Standing in heavy restraints, the black-haired boy calmly awaits his trial in the courtroom. Slamming his wooden gavel, the judge accuses the boy of setting fire to Malik's estate. Declaring the boy a slave, the judge sentences him to death without any questioning. The prejudiced crowd in the stands jeers loudly, demanding the boy's immediate execution. Guards advance as the judge coldly orders them to drag the condemned boy away. The black-haired boy opens his mouth, preparing to speak out against the unfair sentence. Klaus dramatically enters the courtroom, shouting his objection to halt the boy's execution. The spectators murmur in shock upon recognizing the powerful and legendary Lord Klaus. From his high throne, the white-bearded king welcomes Klaus after their long separation. The king questions why a distinguished mage like Klaus is shielding a slave. Klaus shocks the entire court by declaring that the boy is his official disciple. The king is left stunned, repeating the unexpected claim with complete disbelief. Standing up, the king loudly questions how a slave could possibly awaken as a mage. Klaus prepares the grimoire as the boy concentrates on the glowing blue magic stone. With his purple eyes glowing fiercely, the boy prepares to demonstrate his hidden power. Klaus offers a steady, reassuring look, and the boy smiles confidently in response. Clenching the glowing, starlight-filled blue stone, the boy prepares to channel his magic. The boy realizes he must prove his magical worth to make the court listen. Standing tall with his grimoire, the boy confidently asserts his demonstration will be brief. The guard unlocks the boy's heavy restraints, freeing his hands to cast magic. The king decides they should hear the boy out if he is a grimoire master. The king notes that a slave becoming a grimoire master is completely unprecedented. The black-haired boy criticizes the nobility's obsession with bloodlines and their arrogance. The boy defiantly asks if mages are allowed to murder people without facing consequences. A sudden swirl of water magic splashes around a mustached noble in the court. Terrified, the noble stammers that murder is an unforgivable crime under any circumstance. Sweeping his hand, the boy effortlessly controls the swirling water magic before the court. The king looks deeply serious as he addresses Klaus regarding the situation. Placing a reassuring hand on the boy's shoulder, Klaus confirms his disciple's words are true. The boy remembers the mutilated children Malik brought in for his horrific human experiments. The boy thinks about the captive children who serve as undeniable proof of Malik's crimes. Surrounded by swirling water magic, the boy dares the court to sentence him anyway. The spectators look on in complete awe at the boy's effortless water magic control. Klaus closes his eyes and sighs deeply as the tense trial finally concludes. Klaus playfully taps the boy's head with a scroll advising him to study magic. Showing him brilliant magic stones, Klaus explains how the magic tower holds valuable knowledge. Klaus tells the black-haired boy that he needs proper knowledge to search for stones. Klaus encourages the boy to use the magic tower to live life his own way. The black-haired boy looks up, quietly promising to pursue his path with determination. Clenching his fist, the boy prepares to face his bright future with newfound resolve. The black-haired boy holds a glowing blue magic stone, resolving to live life on his own terms. Standing in the sunlit town square, Alan agrees to his master's suggestion to head to the magic tower. With quiet determination, Alan announces his plan to join the magic tower. Alan declares he will leave immediately on his own journey if the tower proves to be a waste of time. Klaus smiles warmly, readily accepting Alan's conditions. Klaus welcomes his young disciple to the towering, sunlit campus of the magic tower. The grand stone spires of the magic tower loom ahead, welcoming the newly born Grimoire Master. In a comical scene, tower attendants fuss over a grumpy Alan to wash the soot off his body. A bright new morning marks Alan's very first day at the prestigious magic tower. Walking past grand statues, Klaus explains the tower's role as both a defense force and a research institute. Klaus describes how mages here enjoy great freedom to research and take on national missions. Klaus directs Alan up the stairs to finish his paperwork, noting he will not accompany him. Alan takes his first steps up the grand staircase towards his registration. Turning back, Alan listens as Klaus mentions he has some important business of his own to attend to. Klaus offers a reassuring gaze, wishing his disciple the best of luck on his own. Alan sighs as he climbs the incredibly long, winding spiral staircase of the tower. Reaching the top, Alan looks ahead with curious and alert purple eyes. Alan spots the grand reception area and realizes he has successfully found his destination. Alan walks forward into the grand hall, preparing himself for whatever lies ahead. Alan is left completely spellbound by the sheer scale of the massive grand hall. Complex golden clockwork gears turn with a steady click, powering the tower's mystical machinery. A studious young mage diligently records research notes against a backdrop of glowing golden runes. Alan gapes at the colossal floating books as mages fly around them to study. Mages gather around a floating magical book, completely unaware of the tiny apprentice below them. A sudden tap on his shoulder startles Alan as a friendly receptionist catches his attention. Startled, Alan quickly turns around with a defensive posture and a grumpy frown. The cheerful blonde receptionist warmly welcomes Alan, noting they have been expecting him. She completes his registration and presents him with his official Magic Tower identification badge. Examining his new ID badge, Alan asks if the embedded gem is a magic stone. She explains that completing missions and research will earn him achievements to rank up. The cute receptionist enthusiastically encourages the young apprentice to do his absolute best. Eager to begin, Alan asks if there are any immediate missions available for him. The receptionist guides Alan across the grand hall toward the mission board. She explains that the massive device called Memoria stores all mission and research records. Placing his hand on the wall, Alan triggers a magical system notification confirming his authentication. The magical display registers his apprentice rank and prompts him to state his request. The receptionist instructs Alan that he can easily operate the device using voice commands. Alan confidently commands the system to search for available missions he can undertake. Alan selects an ore vein survey mission, much to the immediate shock of the receptionist. The system registers his accepted mission, leaving the receptionist completely flabbergasted and sweating. The receptionist panics wildly, screaming that the chosen mission is far too dangerous for him. Alan remains entirely unfazed, coolly stating that he can handle himself just fine in combat. The receptionist calms down slightly, curiously asking Alan if he has met his designated supervisor. She explains that Lucas, his partner, is the legendary and brilliant disciple of the Tower Master. A red-haired girl joins the conversation, enthusiastically gushing about Lucas's incredible prodigy status. The girls continue to share gossip about Lucas, detailing his rare selection by the Tower Master. Nearby mages begin to whisper amongst themselves, gossiping about Alan's surprising background as a slave. Ignoring the drama, Alan looks at the name on his paper, recognizing his new senior. Clutching his mission document, Alan quietly walks away from the gossiping crowd. Alan sighs in annoyance, grumbling about how troublesome it is to work with a partner. Alan resolves to tolerate his partner until he ranks up, keeping in mind the mission is only 3 days long. Lucas bursts into the room with a duster, complaining about how messy the place becomes in his absence. Meticulously tidying up, Lucas grumbles about the misplaced documents and disorganized state of his clothes. Lucas stops cleaning and gazes up in surprise as someone enters the room. Noticing Alan by the doorway, Lucas kneels on the floor and asks him for his identity. Startled by the sudden encounter, Alan holds his paper close while looking flustered. Introducing himself with a warm smile, Lucas identifies himself as Alan's senior fellow disciple. Alan stares back intently, recognizing the legendary senior disciple he had heard so much about. Lucas walks forward, asking Alan if he has already visited the Great Hall to learn about missions. Lucas attempts to reassure the apprentice, telling him there is no need to be nervous. Alan interrupts his senior fellow disciple, handing him a different paper and stating he is not nervous. Instructing Lucas to check the Southern Forest mine mission instead, Alan casually walks away. Examining the document, Lucas points out that the dangerous mine is a highly unusual choice for a beginner. Reaching up for a book, Alan casually asks Lucas when they should set off. Lucas proposes taking the shared carriage tomorrow morning, estimating a quick 2-hour journey. Deciding on a morning departure, Alan carries his books away, leaving a baffled Lucas behind. Alan walks down the stone corridor with a focused and silent look on his face. Lucas collapses in comedic despair, crying over how quickly Alan dismissed his well-researched plans. Clutching his heavy books, Alan quietly makes his way up the dark spiral stairs. Alan remains deeply lost in thought as he continues climbing toward his quarters. Reflecting on Lucas, Alan acknowledges his good nature but remains determined to proceed with his own travel plans. Lucas looks up toward the distant balcony while Alan sits quietly on the railing above. Seated by the massive window, Alan flips through his books, resolving to maintain his distance. Alan prioritizes reading every useful magical tome he can find to expand his knowledge. A subtle, ambitious smile spreads